everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Lynn Doyle. Welcome to Meet the Doctors. For the next hour, we're going to talk to you about your health, and we'll take a look at the latest medical trends and important developments and see how they affect you. We have a great lineup today, including a very special guest, Dr. Mehmet Oz. He'll be talking to us later about his show and how he's helped millions stay healthy at any age, and that's exactly what we want to do to help you as well. Joining me today is my co-host, Dr. Erica Schwartz. She'll help us understand this ever-evolving field of medicine and health. She's a leading patients advocate and an internist, and she has for a long time been a health and wellness expert. Dr. Erica, I'm thrilled to share this scene with you.
Thank you, Lynn. Actually, I'm honored to be here. And I have to tell you that it is my passion to really bring to the public a different side of medicine. Not just bringing in the breaking news in medicine, but explaining them in ways that the public doesn't get scared, in ways that people actually learn to improve their lives, and how it affects the individuals. You know, what, yeah.
Is that what you find in your practice and in your many years of being a physician, that people are afraid? They sometimes don't even go to the doctor because they're afraid of what they'll be told, and then when they do, they're afraid of what they hear?
And they're right. That's the problem. You're right. People are afraid. The way we run medicine today in our United States is through fear and intimidation. People are intimidated by the doctors. They're afraid to go to the doctors. The doctor's always going to give them bad news. I would like to change that. I would like to introduce us to doctors who are cutting-edge doctors, like you were saying, Mehmet Oz, for instance, but doctors in general who really bring to the table a passion for helping the patient. You know, I remember when I was a child, the best doctor we had was my pediatrician, and he used to make house calls. Mm-hmm. And you know what? I remember his big hands. He used to put his hands on me, and he used to listen to my lungs, and he used to even give me shots, and I was never afraid. Well, this is the thing. He made me feel safe. I would like to help change medicine. I would like to start bringing to the public a new medicine that is the newest medicine we have now, the up-to-date developments, the great breakthroughs, but it stays human. The humanity of medicine is really the part that we can't afford to lose as we move forward.
You mentioned that doctors used to have that hands-on approach. As we all know, in healthcare today, it's very difficult for a doctor to give you more than maybe 5 or 10 minutes of his or her time.
Well, that's terrible, because I tell you what, first of all, in 5 minutes, I can get a lot more information out of a patient than you think. And I can put my hand on the patient. I can make eye contact with the patient. I can give them my heart and my soul in my desire to help them. And this is the problem, that we don't get taught that in medical school. We don't get taught that in postgraduate training. And it is time to change. It's time to bring the doctor and patients together. And you know, one of the predicted future of medicine for 2014 is the patient-centric medicine. And I am a pioneer, and I am also desirous of helping everybody that we can touch understand that it's about the patient. It's not about the doctor. It's not about the insurance company. It's not about the drug company. It's about the patient.
And what about the patient himself or herself? What role should they be playing in advocating for their own wellness and well-being?
Well, you know, Lynn, the moment they're not afraid anymore, they will understand it's their lives. And they will not take advice from people like doctors who just write a script or look at a medical record, electronic medical record. They don't even know who the patient is. And the patient will learn that, why would I take advice from someone who doesn't know me? And you know, it becomes even more likely that we do well as patients, and we as doctors become more responsible in our goal to help the patient.
So finally, this show will be a platform where doctors can reach out and speak to the viewers directly about things that affect them directly, like breast cancer, like hepatitis, which is a topic that we'll be talking about, like prostate cancer, or any number of subjects.
And prevention, and how to prevent it, and also how to help patients and doctors get together and work together as a team to help the patient.
And that's the final goal, is
That's
to
the
have
goal.
a team that helps the patient.
Exactly.
Okay, we're going to talk more.
You bet.
Looking forward to it. And coming up next, Dr. Elizabeth Thompson joins us. She's a radiation oncologist, a mother of 4, and a medical entrepreneur of fabulous post-operative medical accessories for women. Stay with us for that and much more. Welcome back once again to Meet the Doctors. You know, we all want to take control of our health and wellness, but to navigate through the myriad of ever-evolving medical breakthroughs and health trends, we sometimes need a little guidance. And here to help us with just that is my co-host, Dr. Erica Schwartz. Joining Dr. Erica is Dr. Elizabeth Thompson. She's a noted radiation oncologist at Northern Westchester Hospital in New York. In addition, this mother of 4 has designed a line of recovery tools for women who have undergone breast cancer surgery.
Thank you, Lynn. And we have the honor and the pleasure of having Dr. Elizabeth Thompson with us. Dr. Elizabeth Thompson is a radiation oncologist. But you know, just like everybody else, she's not just an MD. And this is what we want to bring to you, the story of Dr. Elizabeth Thompson. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you
and
so
tell
much.
us the story, Dr. Thompson.
So I'm a radiation oncologist, but I myself was at risk for developing breast cancer because of my family history, and I knew about this. And I had to make several decisions as to how I was going to follow my risk and what kind of surgery or prevention I would take.
How did you find out about the risk? Because we, you know, usual people, normal people don't really think about risk, or they get scared. They hear about Angelina Jolie, about the genes. Help us out as a doctor. Walk us through what happened.
So when I started thinking about this, it was around 2004 when we just were learning more about the BRCA genes, and my family tested negative. But that didn't mean that we weren't at risk for some sort of hereditary breast cancer. So after multiple screenings and mammograms and MRIs, they were having trouble following me. I had lots of things to biopsy in my breasts. And so I thought to myself, what can I do actually proactively?
Let me go back. And
Yes.
how did you, you know, you're an oncologist already, you're a radiation oncologist. And how many X-rays did you have? How many mammograms? How did it come about?
Well, my mother had breast cancer in her 40s, and so we always knew that I was at risk looking at the rest of our family's history. But in between having my children, I had mammograms, and oftentimes I had to have an MRI too, because they would have trouble seeing certain abnormalities just by looking at the mammogram.
So what happened?
So they biopsied them. I'd lose 5 days of my life worrying what the biopsy was
course.
going to show.
Right.
And with little children, you think to yourself, I can't do this too many times because the anxiety about getting sick is really overwhelming. So I learned about a procedure where I could have my mastectomy and a reconstruction at the same time. And that was really what made me make the decision.
So let me stop you for 1 second. The thing is that you decided to have a prophylactic mastectomy, even though there was no active real cancer, but it was the fear of dying, the fear of getting cancer, and having all these little kids.
It was, and also I come from a very medical family. My father's a medical oncologist, and when I watched my mother go through her chemo, I guess I was a coward. I mean, I watched patients have lumpectomies and radiation every day, and I take care of them. I just didn't want to have to face that myself.
Well, I think that's really important because people don't realize, you know, we get so scared and then we don't realize that doctors are just like human beings and that they have to make decisions. Only some doctors make decisions from a very much more informed position. So you decided to prophylactically without having the genetic material, but knowing that genetically you have to have it.
Well, I think that if you look at what we do know about the genetic forms or the heritable forms of breast cancer, we only know of about a few of them.
Exactly.
So they're about 85% of what we would consider inherited breast cancers. We just don't know what the gene is.
Right.
So for me, I just wanted to do it before it got to me.
And you wanted to be alive for your children.
I did. I wanted to be in control, too, of the procedure. So I knew
Which is
that I
very
could make
important.
some decisions if I did it my own way.
So what happened once you decided to do the procedure?
So it took a long time, actually, for me to get onto the table, truly. I interviewed many other doctors to figure out sort of what kind of procedure I was going to have. And back then, the choices for nipple sparing versus non-nipple sparing, immediate reconstruction versus expanders and a swap, those were all things that I had to sort of push to get what I wanted. And
Right, so let's stop here for another second and discuss the fact that there's so many options, and you as a physician had to worry about what option to choose.
Yes.
And the general public doesn't even know how to choose, and they're probably victims of the doctor, whoever the doctor is, that they see who tells them what to do. You, on the other hand, were lucky.
yeah, I don't know if I'd think about it as the victim of what the doctor tells them, but when you go in to see a physician
Right.
and they tell you you have cancer,
Right.
first of all, you're scared. The doctor then recommends what you might need to do, and they may have a procedure that they do better than
Exactly.
others.
And you didn't even have cancer. You were actually more
No.
proactive because you knew there was a family history. But this is the thing. You know, there are tens of thousands of women who now, after the Angelina Jolie story, went and prophylactically had mastectomies without family histories and with doctors who, you know, I do say scared them into having them done. So I think it's important to realize that you have options and you actually need someone who listens to you and your story.
And I think we both agree that the relationship that a patient has with their physician, that's what really makes the difference between good medical care and poor medical care, because I think that the more you tell your physician about who you are, your lifestyle, your habits, your social history, your family history, the more your physician will help you make good decisions.
Right. So you also have to choose a physician who listens. And having listened and having gone through it and being fine, what did you do to help women going forward as a result of this?
Thank you.
What
I mean,
came
there
out
were
of it?
so many things that drove me crazy as a patient. Once I had my surgery, I came home and I said, this is the pits, because they put a 1970 corset bra on me after I had this incredibly technical surgery with new innovation. And I was going to wreck my surgical result wearing this awful
Right,
bra.
so on one hand, we are so great medically being advanced to do these procedures, but we don't know how to explain it to the patients, and we don't know what to do with the patients afterwards. So what did you develop?
So two things. I did two things. One is that I put together a recovery kit for other patients that were going through the same procedure.
Wonderful.
It was almost like a little navigation bag. Everything that the patient needed in the hospital and then when she went home. And we did that for lots of different patients too. So not only breast
So they're
patients,
like bras and basically...
but and we made a new bra. I was determined to make a better bra than what was put on me.
Okay, so it's time to actually move just from the medical part of it, the surgical part of it, the genetic information, the doctor being part of your team, and also taking care of you as a human being before and after.
Yeah, I used to keep a little notebook in my pocket of my white coat when I was in the hospital, even when I was a medical student. And when I noticed that there was something that could be done better or something that was missing from the experience, whether it be patients recovering after a stroke or simply post-surgical garments, I would sketch things to try to bring it to life, and that's what I did.
And did you get them to the physicians so the
I
physicians can
did.
help the patients?
Physicians would say to me, oh, that's a great idea. Go ahead, you go and do that. No physician actually steps out of the hospital and goes to the garment district to find a better material for a surgical bra, but I did.
But then the thing is that the patients now will understand as a result of this that there is such a thing as an option, that there is a way in which you as a patient matter to the doctor, and that you as a patient should know that you could do things.
Sure.
There are all these things that can be done. So do you have anything you want to show
Oh,
us?
sure. So I can start by showing you the bra that we designed, because after surgical procedures, they put on this white corset bra, which made me uncomfortable.
Show it, yeah.
It hurt more than the actual surgery itself, but I wanted to make an exit port for the drains. And so the drains can come out on the side and go through this little opening
great.
rather than being crimped underneath the elastic.
Where can the people find that?
It's on our website, biffleco.com, and this is called the Elizabeth Pink Surgical Bra. So if you just Googled Elizabeth Pink Surgical Bra, you'd find this.
So show us what else did you bring?
Okay, so I brought the breast bag. This is what I developed right after my surgery. The most important thing every patient needs is a pillow to go under the arm, and this shape was hard to find, so we made it. So it goes right under the axilla, and actually it braces any surgery, really.
Supports, right.
So it's very important.
Beautiful.
The other thing that I put together was a sample of all the wound care that a patient needs. It's very hard to find this in a CVS or a Walgreens, so we put a sample of everything and instructions to take care of the drains.
Beautiful.
This all comes so you could give it to your partner or your husband, get me some more of this. And we knew that patients would find that helpful. This is important papers and cards and a drain log. So they know their next appointment, they know where to find all their information, and they can keep track of what comes out of their drains. Of course, we put a water bottle because every patient needs to stay hydrated and they never drink enough, and toiletries so that you can have quiet in the hospital. You can have clip your nails if you need to, waterless toothbrush, all those kinds of things that I wish I had. And then amusements. You can sit down and play cards with somebody, take notes on what you need. So this
And
really...
it's so thoughtful, because you know what, as a patient, the doctors don't care about it, the nurses don't care about it, nobody realizes, and it's such a tough time. So I think these are so amazing, amazing things that you've done to help women.
Thank you. I mean, the messaging is get better and use this bag as your gym bag when you're done. So let's just get on with life afterwards.
I think that's amazing, amazing. And I think that it'll help a lot. And you know what? It brings together the medical world with the real world. And I think that's really important. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for everything you're doing. And it was fantastic to talk to you. Back to Lynn.
Coming up, we're going to be discussing some of the latest medical trends, plus the great Dr. Oz will be joining us as well. Stay with us. We are back here on Meet the Doctors. I'm Lynn Doyle, joined along with our resident medical expert and my co-host, Dr. Erica Schwartz. We promised that we would talk about medical trends and the latest developments. So, Dr. Erica, I'd like to talk to you, if we could, about medications, because America seems to be completely, totally medicated these days.
Isn't it crazy? You know what's interesting? In 1997, the drug companies got the approval to advertise directly to the public. And that actually changed completely the way medication on this insane drug, overflow occurred in our country. And people actually started coming to the doctor saying, listen, I watched this on TV, can I get this drug?
It's interesting that you say that, because I was thinking that when I watch television, I must see more commercials these days for some sort of medication. And is it my imagination, or do I see more for low T and some sort of impotence than anything else on television?
Right, and especially on ESPN and all these sports. Did you notice all the sports events now have low T?
Okay, so let's talk about what low T is.
I think that's very important. So low T means low testosterone. It's like a new term for low testosterone. Interestingly enough, we don't seem to know that men and women both have hormones. And that when we're young and full of hormones, we feel good, we look good, we're fertile, we're interested in sex. When we start getting older and we're no longer fertile, women become menopausal, men, it just disappears. So this is what happened to men. They go into what's called as andropause or male menopause, and that means their testosterone level drops.
Well, I, for one, certainly hope that it starts getting as much attention as we women get when we go through menopause.
Well, yeah, but you know what? Unfortunately, they get better attention than we do. They also get more interesting, more time as far as promoting low T and the treatment for low T.
What are some of the symptoms of low T?
Right, great. The symptoms are the same as women going to menopause, but we don't talk about it. And it's like this. Men start gaining weight, they start being disinterested in sex, and they don't make us feel good about it. They actually make us feel like it's our fault. You know that. So what they do is they gain weight, they become couch potatoes, their outlook on life is kind of depressive, and they start taking antidepressants, which are not a good idea, and they can't build muscle like you see a 30-year-old next to a 50-year-old at the gym, and the 30-year-old is building muscle and the 50-year-old's looking at him.
So if any of these things sound familiar to our viewers, then should they consult a physician and say, is it possible that I have low T? And if so, how do you find out?
That's a very good question. First of all, yes, they should consult a physician. But unfortunately, most physicians don't know as much as the drug companies know about testosterone. So you want a physician who knows about hormones. This is what I do. I work with testosterone and with hormones in general. So you have a blood test that tells you about what your level of testosterone is. But then again, you don't know what your testosterone level was when you were 30 or 20.
Right, because
so
we're not aware of it
exactly.
at the time. Okay, so if any of these symptoms sound familiar, then low T
like you wake
might
up without an
be
erection
the
in the morning, which is what usually is standard. There are all these changes. So what happens is you have to give people testosterone. And you could give them testosterone in gel form, and they put them on the shoulder. It's a FDA approved, or injectable.
While we're on the subject of hormones,
yes,
since we're talking about men, let's give some equal time to women.
Why?
Because that's a big thing for me. I find it interesting that women, if they are told by their physicians that if they're postmenopausal, they should not take hormones, is that advice that you would give, or is it a case-by-case situation?
Well, obviously, everything should be a case-by-case situation. So I would never just blanket say something. But it's really interesting that women benefit from hormones. They benefit from specific hormones called bioidentical hormones, hormones that are FDA approved. They are just identical to the hormones your body makes when you are young and full of hormones, and you do need these hormones. The earlier you start them, the better off you are. The longer you take them, also the better off you are, because they actually do prevent disease in the long run. And women die of heart disease, and their bones thin out, and they don't die really primarily of breast cancer. So you don't want women to get breast cancer, nor do you want them to get heart disease. So yes, hormones are really important for all of us.
Okay, so see, this is how our conversation goes. One idea comes into my head after another. Another topic that we're hearing about in the news now, and just briefly let's talk about it, is hepatitis C. I understand that there's a new development in the treatment of hepatitis C that could really be a breakthrough.
Well, there is a new drug that is getting a lot of publicity as far as helping people with hepatitis C, which is great. But the problem is the drug is extremely expensive, like $1,000 a day per pill. You need about 12 weeks at a minimum of treatment, and it doesn't work alone. You still have to take either an injection of interferon or another drug with it. So before we all jump on the bandwagon that we solve the problem of hepatitis C with a $1,000 drug a day, we should actually realize that it's not quite so true, and it goes back to the advertising directly to the public. I think that preventive methods is really the best way to take care of really any disease.
Absolutely, and that's why you're here. That's why this show is your passion. We're going to talk more, but we have to take a quick break. Dr. Erica is our version of Dr. Oz, but the true Dr. Oz is going to be joining us next, so please stay with us for that. You'll love to hear what he has to say. Welcome back to Meet the Doctors. I'm Lynn Doyle, along with Dr. Erica Schwartz. Okay, our next guest needs no introduction. He's a familiar face we see every morning.
Your cravings are the #1 reason you can't lose weight, and that's a problem for more than half of you. And today's show is for you. I've done the work. I've tracked down the best of the best to kill your cravings. Today, I got the craving killers to shut down your appetite for good. I've asked Valerie, Jamie, and Vanessa to join me. They're all standing behind the cravings they just can't shut down. They happen to be the cravings that I hear most often from all of you guys out there. So Vanessa, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm seeing ice cream, chocolate, cookies. I gather you've gotten a problem with sugar here.
I love sugar. Who doesn't? I mean, look at these. These are great. You're killing me right now, Dr. Isaac. I can't have these. But my biggest craving is that I need something at like 10 o'clock at night. I need some sugar.
The late night sugar.
Yes.
Oh, trips so many of us up.
I know. But it's so good.
I know.
It's so good.
It feels so good at the moment, doesn't it?
It makes you feel good. You sleep better.
At the moment. We all make excuses like that.
Hi, it's such a pleasure to see you. You know, I've been watching you from the very beginning, and I think you're such an inspiration. I can't thank you enough for being on the show. So I have a question for you. First of all, you are touching everyone in America. Why did you become a doctor to begin with?
Being a television host was never part of my game plan in life. My calling in life to be a physician, as it was for you, I suspect. So my dad's a doctor. When I was going through college, I loved everything about medicine. I applied to medical school and was lucky enough to be educated by some of the best doctors I'd ever met in my life. They taught me about compassion and healing, but also the high-tech sides of the field, like heart surgery, which is what I practice now. That's what I was doing this morning before I got the call with you. And one of the best parts about medicine is you get to look at people in the eyes every single day and have an authentic, intimate relationship with them where you're actually connected and you're making something magical happen. And we try to take that and put it in a bottle and put it on the show, which is at the end why we do the television program.
I think it's amazing what you just said, because I was just going to say, you know, I know you operated all day today, and I thank you so much for taking the time to come and talk to me. But this is the interesting thing. You are a celebrity. You touch millions of people every single day. How come you're still operating?
For me, it's a calling. As I mentioned earlier, you don't walk into medicine just because it's there. You walk into it because you have a deep-seated passion to be involved with the well-being of folks. I remember as a kid seeing my dad walk into a patient's room, taking needles, sticking in his trachea, right where the voice box is. Because back then, in order to get the patients to cough, that's what they would do. And the patient smiled when he left and thanked him. I thought, my goodness, my dad just did something that was really invasive that most of the time you would not be thanking someone for doing to you, and yet he was being thanked. And I recognized that what people desired wasn't just good news. That's sort of good, nice to have when you have it. What they really want is hope. And as a physician, you get to give people hope, which is, again, not just giving them good news, but more importantly, having them make sense of whatever news you gave them. And if you can do that, then the magic happens. And the television show is just an opportunity to do that with a lot more people paying attention.
Absolutely. And you know, it's so amazing you're talking about that, because this morning I was talking about the fact that I remember my pediatrician who used to make house calls, and that's why I became a doctor, because how he felt, he made me feel safe. And you know what I want to make sure is that everybody, just like you do, feels better, that doctors make them feel comfortable. What you're achieving is amazing. What do you think is the most important health issue in America today?
It's obesity, without question. And for anybody who's interested in healthcare budget and health policy, forget about being a Democrat or Republican. Neither program will work if you don't deal with obesity in America. And if we deal with obesity, every program will work. So if you think about it, the weight gain that we've had in this country has been ponderously large over the last generation and a half. And most importantly, it's probably about a third, maybe 40% of the healthcare budget. It's a big expense that we pay. It's a hefty penalty we have to lift for being overweight. And that expense never comes back to us. That's wasted money. Because even when you spend money to help people who are overweight, guess what? They still get sick. And they die from things that you never would have expected. Cancer, for example, which we thought people with weight problems died of heart attacks. They die of a lot of other things, immune immune problems. They're always getting sick. They can't sleep at night. They gain more weight. I mean, there are all these unfortunate realities to a society that has made it easy for people to put weight on. The elegance, of course, and I talk about this in the show whenever I can, is that when you automate your life to make the right decisions easy, then all of a sudden you begin losing weight. That's why people who are heavy think that people that are thin are just lucky. They're not. It's actually that they, for whatever reason, in their lives adopted techniques that work effortlessly. A lot of times you're passed on by their parents or their relatives. But if folks who are overweight learn those tricks most of the time, not always, but most of the time, relatively effortlessly, they'll go back to their playing weight. That's the weight they were when they're 18 to 20 years of age.
It's interesting because what happens is like this, to us, like I was seeing patients today too, and this woman came in and she was having soda for breakfast at 9 o'clock this morning, and you know what? That woman was a doctor. How do you tell those people that what they're doing is actually harming themselves? How do you do it?
Well, the worst thing to do is finger wag. That doesn't work. What you got to do is look them in the eyes and say, listen, I care about you, and people around you care about you. And all you got to do is care about yourself as much as they do. So it's much more about reminding them about the sacredness of the human body, how special, how magical it is. And they will, on their own, sort of figure out that you don't want to poison something so special. You see a newborn baby, and I just became a grandfather, so I see this firsthand. This life is just coming to existence. It's a complete miracle. And then you begin to abuse it. And the people who abuse it the worst are the people who own those bodies. So say this to yourself. If someone that I really cared about was putting in their mouth what you're putting in your mouth, what would you say to them? Whatever that phrase is, say it to yourself.
I think that's amazing. And you know what? The problem is that I also need your help with is how do you actually get people to remember that they're responsible for their own health? That at the end of the day, no matter how great you are, no matter how great any of us as physicians are, how do we get the people to understand that we cannot be in their bodies? And by not being able to be in their bodies, we cannot determine their outcome.
Well, the most important lesson for folks to realize is it's not an onerous task to take care of your body. Quite the opposite. It's a celebration that we're offering you. And I think a lot of times in medicine, we haven't given the messages to folks. That's the real reason, Erica, that America hasn't gotten the message. We haven't given it to them the right way. They need to see it in ways that resonate with them. And if they do, then what ends up happening is they say, my goodness, this is so cool. I wish I knew this earlier. And then they embrace it. The biggest movement towards health in America was the physical fitness movement. Why? Because we weren't taking things from you. We were giving you things. And that same is true in every other thing we talk about. Instead of taking away the foods you can eat, give people the foods they can eat. Eat as many of these things as you want. You won't gain weight. And guess what? They'll eat those foods. And they'll start to find foods they love that happen to be good for them. That's how you end up, for example, losing weight. Sleep is another great example. Instead of giving people homework assignments with sleep, teach them a couple simple tips about sleep hygiene. And by the way, of course, we give all these great details to folks as much as we can in different places that we speak to them. But they have to take the messages and translate them into actions. And ultimately, in most families, there's one caregiver, one person who's responsible for taking the message and spreading it. And if we don't give them the ammo to convey that message the right way, it's called nagging. So you want to give them the right message with the right impact, the right words, and that way you get change, meaningful change.
I think that's really important, and I can't thank you enough for really sharing with us and being a supporter of our show, and I can't thank you enough for everything you're doing for America and for our health to you.
Thank you, Erica. Good luck with
Thank you, Mehmet. Thank you, Mehmet. That was the one and only Dr. Mehmet Oz. Coming up next, we will be answering your health questions right here on Meet the Doctors on Newsmax TV.
Okay, so we told you that this show was going to be all about you and your health. So we've given you an opportunity to write in or call in and ask some questions of the good Dr. Erica. So let's go and find out what it is that you guys are interested in. Our first one says, I'm 56 years old and in good health. I've gone through menopause and I am now considering hormone replacement therapy. But I'm afraid because I heard it could be dangerous. This is amazing. We just talked about this.
Funny?
What would you say to Carol in New York City?
I would say to Carol that she, first of all, is not alone. There are about 140 million women over the age of 45 at this point in the United States. And because of the Women's Health Initiative, which was a failed study by the National Institutes of Health in 2002 that used kind of a hormone that's not identical to the hormones our bodies make, doctors and women were told to get off hormones, that it increases risk of heart attacks, strokes, and blood clots. But the truth is that since then, a lot has changed. If we use hormones that are identical to the hormones our bodies make, we are actually going to decrease the risk. And heart disease and aging will kill us, will increase the risk of disease. So while I cannot say to Carol specifically what she should do, because each one of us is an individual and needs a good doctor and a lot of good information and a good relationship to figure out what to do, I think that hormones are not to be afraid of. It's the type of hormone replacement, it's the type of hormone support, and it becomes really important at individualized decision.
Okay, good advice as always. Now let's go to the Meet the Doctors hotline. Let's welcome Chris from Los Angeles, California. Hey, Chris, how are you?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Dr. Erica. I heard you earlier talking about hormone or low T for men. Do antidepressants in any kind of way, can that cause low testosterone for men? Because I heard, I take an antidepressant, and a lot of the symptoms that you described, weight gain, at times feeling kind of lethargic, I seem to have some of those symptoms.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, Chris, you're not alone again. The problem is that antidepressants have never been proven to help anybody unless it's an acute depression that really somebody has a major problem with. Low testosterone is really a problem. I think that low testosterone is more likely to cause the problem for you, and you don't treat it with an antidepressant. You treat it with testosterone. So testosterone in the form of androgel, injectable testosterone, will help you, will bring back the youthful thinking and the youthful approach to life a lot faster and a lot better than antidepressants will.
Okay, hope that helps you out there, Chris. Our next email comes from John K. in upstate New York. He says, I've been a big fan of yours, so it would be great if you could answer my question. I've been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I'll be going through chemo and radiation. I'm wondering what I can do to keep myself healthy through this period of time.
Well, thank you so much, John, and I really wish you the best of luck with what's going on with you. I think that it's so important to stress what you do to protect yourself before, during, and after chemotherapy. Fortunately, there are a lot of new oncologists, a new breed of oncologists coming out that focus on nutrition, that focus on exercise, and that help men and women going through treatments for cancer with good nutrition, with juicing, with exercise, so that they actually recover faster and they do really well, and they take supplements. So you want to find somebody who's an oncologist, who's an integrative oncologist, who knows how to put the pieces together, protect you, and have you recover a lot faster.
Finally, a question from me, your co-host. I'm wondering what you think about holistic health care and how much emphasis you think we should be placing on preventative care, preventative maintenance, so to speak, when it comes to our health.
I think 100% of the time. I think that you raised the most important question. I hope that in Meet the Doctors we will be answering that question. How do you prevent things? Because if you can prevent things, if you look at yourself as a whole body, because your brain is connected to the rest of your body, you're one person, and there's so many modalities out there. Some of them may apply to you, some may not. You want to find the right partner, and you want to also not get overwhelmed by information and not get scared. You want to work with someone who actually has your back, like a good partner, a good doctor, and you want to really prevent disease.
Is it ever too late to start preventative maintenance?
Never. As long as we're alive, we can start dropping that cup of coffee, stopping that soda, getting rid of processed food and sugar substitutes, and start moving.
Because you know that there are people who are watching who are saying, well, you know what,
Right.
I'm already this old, this much overweight, I already have these health problems. It's too late, too little, too late.
You know what? It's never too late because you want to feel better. You know what? It's going to end for all of us. But the truth is, you want to be feeling better feel great while you're here.
And what is the best piece of advice that you could give our viewers to take with them at the end of today's show?
I think to stop being afraid and to know it's their life and it's their choice what they do with their life.
All right, well, they've made the choice to watch us and share this hour, and we're certainly grateful to them. Thank you so much for all of the important information that you were able to provide for us today.
Thanks, Lynn. It was a pleasure.
We do want to thank all of the viewers who wrote or called in. We certainly give you that opportunity to reach out to us, and Dr. Erica will talk back to as many of you as possible. Until the next time, for Meet the Doctors, I'm Lynn Doyle. Thank you for watching.